Hi, who's ready for chapter 12 in Sign of the Beaver? I didn't have any vocab words for today, so Sign of the Beaver is up there. Okay, 7 sticks, 7 notches. It's already happened. Do you think Pa's coming and the family in chapter 12? Is that your prediction? Remember, you always keep that mind going making predictions, okay? Maybe it'll happen in chapter 12. Let's see. I must have a bow, Matt decided one morning. He was envious of the bow Etienne often carried behind his shoulder and of the blunt arrows he tucked into his belt. Only the day before, Matt had watched him swing it suddenly into position and bring down a flying duck. Etienne had picked up the dead bird carefully and carried it away with him. No doubt the Indians would find some use for every scrap of bone and feather. Remember, they wouldn't waste anything. If you killed an animal, they used every bit of that animal. They didn't want to waste anything. Matt knew by now that Etienne never shot anything just for the fun of it. With a bow and a little practice, Matt thought now he might get a duck for himself. It would be a fine change from his usual fish. Have any of you shot a bow and arrow? I know that's becoming archery is becoming a neat sport to be a part of. So that might be something kind of fun. If you're not into soccer or football or swimming, whatever, maybe archery would be something kind of cool to do. Sounds neat. I don't think it's real easy though. It'd be hard to get that bow landing right where you want it to. But like everything, it takes practice, right? He had no doubt he could shoot with a bow. In fact, he had made them years ago back in Quincy. He and his friends had played at Indians, stalking each other through the woods and whooping out from behind trees. They had even practiced half earnestly at shooting at a target. How could he have known that someday he would have need of such a skill? He cut a straight branch, notched it at either end, and stretched tight a bit of string his father had left. Arrows he whittled out of slender twigs, but something was definitely wrong. His arrows wobbled off in odd directions or flopped on the ground a few feet away. He was chagrined when the next morning Etienne came walking out of the woods and surprised him at his practice. Etienne looked at the bow. "Not good wood," he said at once. "I get better." He was I think this word is supposed to be, it's exacting, excuse me. He was very exacting about the wood he chose, meaning he was careful. He wanted a particular kind of wood, so he was very careful to get that exact wood that he wanted. He searched along the edge of the clearing, testing saplings, bending slender branches, discarding one after the other, till he found a dead branch of ash about the thickness of 3 fingers. He cut a rod almost his own height and handed it to Matt. "Take off bark," he directed, and squatted down to watch while Matt scraped the branch clean. Then, taking it in his hands again, he marked off several inches in the center where Matt's hand would grip the bow. "Cut off wood here," he said, running his hand from center to ends. "Make small like this." He held up one slim finger. Now, remember, he's not just being like, do this, do that. He's trying to teach Matt. And the best way to learn something is to actually do it yourself. Okay, so he's trying to teach him how to make this bow. Matt set to work too hastily. Hastily meaning he's working too quickly. "Slow," Etienne warned him. "Knife take off wood too fast. Indian use stone." So he's saying, white men use a knife to take off the bark on a branch. He's saying an Indian would use a stone, which takes a lot longer, but he likes the end result better. Under the Indian's critical eye, Matt shaved down the branch, paring off the thinnest possible shavings. The slow work took all his patience. Twice he considered the task finished, but Etienne, running his hand along the curve of the bow, was not satisfied till it was smooth as an animal bone. "Need fat now," he said. "Bear fat best." "Will this do?" Matt asked, bringing out a bowl of fish stew he had left cooling on the table. Carefully, with a bit of bark, Etienne skimmed off the drops of oil that had risen to the surface. So that's the fat that's left over from the fish he had cooked. He rubbed the oil from one end of the bow to the other till the bare wood glistened. Matt's frayed bit of string he cast aside. Instead, he set about making a bowstring as he had made the snare of long strands of spruce root. This took most of the morning as he patiently twisted the strands together, rolling them against his thigh to make them even and smooth. Finally, he tied one end to a notch in the bow and began slowly to bend the wood. The bow seemed to Matt to be as stiff as iron. It seemed impossible that it would bend, but slowly it yielded till the string slipped over the notch at the other end. The bow was finished. "It's a beauty," Matt told him, filled with admiration at their joint handiwork. Etienne gave a grunt of satisfaction. "Shoot pretty good," he said. "One day make better. Indian take long time. Leave wood many days till ready." So he's saying the process of making a bow takes quite a while. Before he left, Etienne cut off 4 slender shoots of birch wood. "Best for arrow," he explained, marking off with his hands a length of about 2 feet. He left Matt to do the whittling for himself. Matt was delighted with the bow, but shooting it was another matter. It was not in the least like the flimsy thing he had first created. It took all his strength to draw back the string. When he released his arrow, it flew with astonishing power off somewhere into the underbrush, anywhere but where he had aimed it. As fast as he could make new arrows, he lost them. So he'd make an arrow and he'd shoot it and then it would get lost somewhere. But he was determined. He pegged a target of birch bark against a tree and shot at it grimly, his arrows coming closer and closer with every day's practice. The heel of his hand was blistered from the stinging snap of the string. Etienne did not offer him any further advice, but when the root string began to fray, he brought with him one day a fine bowstring of twisted animal sinew which would last for a long time. Using the new string, Matt could frequently nick the edge of his target. Soon, he promised himself, the squirrels would have more respect than to frisk about so boldly over his head. So he's saying, soon he was going to get really good at using this bow and arrow. And the squirrels, who are kind of like taunting him over his head playing, he said pretty soon they're going to be like, "Creeps, there's that boy with the bow and arrow. He might shoot us." So thinking that that he is going to be getting very good at shooting with the bow and arrow. And thus, Etienne taught him something else now. It's like every chapter we're getting in here and Etienne's teaching him something else, isn't he? This was a pretty short little chapter, but that's okay. That's good. You still have to do your chapter summary. Just think about what you're going to be drawing, okay? Some of your little people are so daggone cute. But think about what you're drawing. Maybe put the background in there and everything. We want it to help your memory, okay? So when at the end of this, if I'm not exactly sure what we're gonna do at the end, time's gonna tell with that, but I want your chapter summaries to be helpful to you, okay? So the words, of course, will be helpful, but also the pictures. All right? Okay, so that's it for today. Do a good job on your summary, and then we'll meet again. Next time we'll be reading 2 chapters, chapter 13 and 14. Okay, make your predictions. Is the family coming? It's been longer than they said. Okay, bye.